start by finding that nice long spine. The eyes can be open or closed, whatever feels more natural for us today. As we start to feel our feet pressing down into the floor, big toes, pinky toes, inside and outside of our heels. Feeling that weight spreading across our strong foundation of the lower body. Moving up into the hips, starting to feel the heaviness of our hips today, being supported by the chair underneath us. See if we can imagine that pelvis balancing equally from right to left, forwards and backwards. So we feel that long spine, crown of the head reaching up towards the sky. Hips are grounded, head is light. Feeling those shoulders relax down and back, easily supported by the muscles of our back and our abdominals. Let's bring our awareness to our breath as we inhale through the nose. Maybe we want to sigh it out on the exhale. Let's take that again, inhaling through the nose. And sighing it out through the exhale. As we start to invite some small movement into our body, as we start to feel that inhale, maybe there's a slight expansion through the chest. As we exhale, maybe there's a small little rounding forward, feeling those abdominals contracting. Again, inhaling as we fill the lungs. Maybe taking that stretch a little bit further, and then we find that exhale as we slowly round forward. And again, inhaling, maybe that spinal extension gets a little bit bigger, exploring our range of motion here in our spine, while we're maintaining this nice heavy placement down into our feet as we inhale and exhaling. Finding that stacking of the spine all the way back up, taking a moment to feel that beautiful spine as we reach those arms out to the side. Big breath in. And let's find that exhale as we cross one arm over the other. And maybe we give a little squeeze to those shoulders, and then we can start to move down the body here. Some gentle squeezing, maybe into the hands. It's like we're saying hello to our body as we're just squeezing that upper body, giving as much or as little pressure as we like. Okay, let's come down into the chest and into the shoulders, coming down into the armpits, the side of the body if that feels good, maybe into the back of our lower back. So we start to squeeze now through our quads, saying hello to our bodies. Gentle little squeeze, maybe we find a little hinge as we come on down into our calves and those ankles, taking our time as we slowly walk back on up. Good, let's take that breath on out to the side, feeling that stretch across that spine. Now we're gonna take our opposite arm over, so the one that we didn't do before. Finding that little squeeze here, breathing in. Good, and this time now we're gonna brush. Let's start to brush off on the arms, down those hands, maybe down the chest, down through those legs, all the way through. Again, find that range that feels good for us. And then when we're ready, we're gonna take a moment just to feel stillness again. Through the breath, in through the nose. Exhaling it on out. Beautiful, all right. Let's continue with our warm up here, and we're gonna be saying, this is our hello dance, welcoming back into the body, some gentle movement through our joints, and thinking about this idea of size. So how big or small can we make our movements today so we can continue to explore that concept? So here we go, we're gonna start with our fingers. So we got small little wiggles of our fingers. So maybe you're dancing with other people today, or maybe you're dancing with me right now. But if you were saying hello to me, can we make little small hellos? I'm saying hi with my fingertips. And if I had friends around me, I would be saying hello, nice and small with those fingers. Good. Let's come into the wrists now. So some gentle, small little movement. And again, if we had friends around us, maybe we say hi with our wrists, as small as we can, right? Any range of motion that feels right for us, but thinking small here. Wonderful. How about our elbows? So now we can start to kind of bend and straighten those elbows. But again, small, like a small little hello. Maybe there's a little hello to the side. Think about saying hi to my friends out there on YouTube here as we're finding those little elbow waves. Good. How about the shoulders now? Maybe one at a time, or maybe we want to explore both at the same time. Totally up to us. But again, we got small little hellos. Hello to the body. And then again, maybe there's a friend next to us that we can say hi to with that shoulder coming forwards and back. Maybe a little bit forward here, like a little mini shimmy. Good. All right, let's come down into our toes now. So let's wiggle those toes. And we can feel those toes wiggling. And then maybe again, we got a little hello side to side here. Nice and small to begin. Saying hi to our friends out in front of us. Good. How about those ankles? So maybe we want to come up and down on the balls of our feet, lifting those heels up. Or maybe it feels good to do some ankle rolls as well. Again, this is our exploration today. We're seeing what that range of motion feels like in this small way to begin. Again, maybe get a little hello over there with that foot. Again, keeping it nice and small to begin. Then we're gonna find some movement here in those knees. So let's find just a little flexion, thinking about those heels coming back towards those glutes, nice and easy. Little movement there. And then we're gonna get into those hips. So now we can maybe move that femur around in that hip socket. Think about kind of stepping side to side. Maybe there's a little lift of those hips. Good. Maybe there's a little circle with those hips. All of that is wonderful. Again, kind of being like a scientist. We're exploring, we're experimenting. What does it feel like to move in that body? All right, now how about we make our big hellos? Maybe with those fingers and the wrists at the same time. Can we make it really big? What about those elbows? Good, how high can we go? How far away can we say hello to our friends around the room? How about our shoulders? Maybe there's some bigger shoulder rolls now, saying hello, forwards and back, side to side, maybe a little shoulder wiggle. How about those toes? Now we're gonna get that toe and ankle. Maybe we wanna say hi to somebody all the way in the diagonal. Listening again to the body, of course, but how big can we say our hellos today? What about out to the side? Ooh, yes, maybe we wanna even swivel those legs, taking up a lot of space here, finding those stretches, those big hellos out into the world, listening to that body. Good, and then we're gonna take that full body stretch. And exhaling, bringing ourselves back in. And again, big breath in. And exhaling it all the way down and finishing up nice and tall. Continuing to warm up our bodies here, we're gonna use our imagination and we're gonna pretend that we have this canvas in front of us, behind us, maybe above us, maybe even below us. And we are going to use our bodies as our paintbrushes. So we can use our imagination using any colors that we would like, any imagery that feels right. So what we're going to do is we're going to be finding that nice tall spine again, but we're going to start with some really smooth strokes with the upper body. Now you decide how big they want to be today. Right? Maybe it's really, really big, or maybe it feels more appropriate today in our bodies to keep our canvas a little bit smaller. But again, we're exploring all of that space around us. Very, very smooth, continuous. This is the idea of flow in the upper body, while we're remaining grounded in the lower body, so we can really challenge those abdominals as well as we reach further away from us. But again, always listening to our bodies. So we have smooth movement of the upper body, nice and easy. And then we got a little playful moment of some birds flying. So you decide what your bird is gonna do, right? Maybe it's finding that full wing expansion. Maybe you got a little more of a chicken today. Maybe you got just like a little baby bird, but we'll play around with this idea of a bird, just like soaring through this beautiful painting that we've already made, okay? Then we're gonna come into the next phrase, and this is gonna be more energetic. This is tossing quality. So we're thinking about tossing paint, kind of splattering that paint on our canvas. So it's a little bit more direct. There's a little bit more energy and kind of flick quality, or even like a dabbing quality of our paint. And again, we have that canvas underneath us, to the side of us, so we can explore. Just making sure that we're always listening to our joints for sure. We don't want to toss out and hurt those elbows. So always keeping kind of like a nice little micro bend in those elbows as we're flicking out, yeah? And it can be more of like a flick with the hands, or maybe you want to think flicking of the fingers too. So you decide how you want to explore that canvas around us. All right. So we have smooth, we got our little birdie, and then we got our tossing quality, okay? Then we're gonna explore the same idea with the lower body. So we'll start with our smooth, right? So this is where we get to really pay attention to smooth movement of the lower body. We can lift those legs, of course, if that feels okay, and those hips. So you decide, again, where do we want to go, where do we want to explore. It's all going to be dependent on the chair that we're in as well, or whatever position we're seated in. So finding that exploration of smooth in the lower body. Then we're going to have that same idea of that toss-like quality of our lower body. So again, that idea, just making sure that we're not, putting any strain on those joints. So really flicking it out, but taking care of ourselves side to side. You can maybe flick more with a knee. You could flick just with those toes. We can kind of explore there. So we'll have some little fun flicking movement or tossing movement of that lower body. And then we're going to find some details. So we had really big movement there. Now we're going to think more miniature details of our canvas. So maybe you want to draw like a tree, right? We can be really specific. Maybe imagine drawing those little trees. Maybe there's clouds that you want to create. Maybe there's a little person who is reading a book underneath a beautiful tree, and then there's rainbows, right? We can use our imagination, whatever that painting is going to be. But we're going to find some details of the upper body, nice and small. Then we're going to explore details with the lower body, same idea. So maybe we start to make some grass, or maybe we want to make that sun. Again, there's all options. You decide what you want to paint, but we're going to have those little details, okay? And then we're going to come back into our chorus with some upper body smooth movement as well. So that's the vocabulary we're exploring. Again, you are making those choices of what the movement looks like. My version is my version today. Tomorrow it will be a different version. So your version that you're exploring today is specific just to you. So know that there is no wrong way to do this. Just making sure that we're always, again, listening to the body, knowing that range of motion that feels good, but allowing ourselves to just be a little creative, a little playful. Let that imagination really take the driver's seat on this little activity together. All right, here we go. Let's do it to our music. Here we go, smooth upper body. Good, finding that range of motion again. We're finding that painting on our canvas. Wherever you want to move today, just smooth and continuous with that upper body. Here comes our bird that decides to fly through our beautiful picture. Good, finding that version of that bird for ourselves today. Maybe it's a little chicken again. You decide what you need. Here we go, we're gonna toss our paint now. Toss it on out. Toss and toss. Remember, you got that canvas all around you, but have a little bit more energy, a little bit more direct with those hands. Very nice. And smooth it out again. So we're painting on our canvas, whatever color you explore, however you want to move today. Nice work, everybody. Continuing to really find that stretch all the way through, finding that painting. Here we go. Now the lower body is going to explore that idea of smooth. So smoothing it out, spreading that paint all over your canvas today. Maybe the other leg goes, or maybe you want to do both at the same time, right? You decide what feels good. All right, maybe you even want to lift up a leg. Good, finding that range, painting it out. Time to toss it, are you ready? Toss it on out. And toss it. You can toss it with a knee. Maybe you want to toss it behind you. Think about flicking that paint on our canvas. Nice job, everybody. Keep it flicking. Flick it out. And flick. All right, let's make our details here with our upper body. So now we're going to have a little specific detail. Whatever you want to paint on your canvas. Maybe you want to explore that painting, that details with the toes. Nice. Let's come back to smooth upper body. All right, time to find that canvas. Maybe there's a spot that we haven't gotten paint on yet and we want to keep trying it. All right, toss it out. Toss it out. Good, tossing that paint. Toss it out now. Toss and toss. Especially if you got someone in the room, you can pretend to be tossing on each other. Good, find that breath. And finish. All right, it's time for a little pattern work here to challenge our brains and our creativity in our bodies. So we're gonna work with our head, our shoulders, and our ribs on this exercise. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tap our head once, gently, tap your shoulders once, and then we're gonna tap our ribs 3 taps. Tap, tap, tap. Again, it would go head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. One more time, head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Good. Now we're gonna move that pattern starting with the shoulders. So it's gonna go shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Be kind to yourself, okay? Nice little gentle taps here. So again, it goes 1 shoulder, 1 rib, 3 times with the head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. One more time, shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Wonderful. The last pattern was gonna start with the ribs now. So it's gonna go 1 time on the ribs, 1 time on the head, 3 times on the shoulders. So it goes ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulders. Ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. One more time, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulders. All right, so that's the pattern. But we're gonna put that all together. We're gonna do each one 4 times. So let's just try it here without any music, just to get that pattern in our bodies. So it goes head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Again, we go head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. 2 more times. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Again, a head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Now we go shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Last time, shoulders, ribs. Now move into the ribs to go ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. 2 more times, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. One more time, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulders. All right. Great job. That in itself is a brain workout, let me tell you. So just making sure that we're also taking care of the shoulders and the head, all of that, just making sure that we're working in the range of motion that feels good for us. Even if we don't actually physically want to touch either, we can mentally imagine that we're thinking head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. That in itself, again, will be really great for our cognitive health. Okay, so that's the first round. Then what we're gonna do, instead of tapping that body part, we're now gonna move that body part. Of course, range of motion, always important, know what you need for your body. But what that would look like then, this is where we get to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more imaginative, just kind of going with the flow, I'll say, is that we would move our head. So we would move our head one way, then a shoulder would go, and then we got 3 ribs, 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 ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Yeah, so we're still working on that same pattern, but now we're creating movement in those body parts. Good. Now let's try that pattern with the shoulders starting. So it goes shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulder, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Again, finding your own version of how you want to move in that body. Last pattern, start with those ribs. So we've got 1 rib, rib, head, shoulder, 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 rib, head, shoulder, 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 rib, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulders, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Yes. So we're trying to isolate as best we can. Obviously, you'll notice everything kind of starts to move at some point. So just making sure that we are working on that pattern. That's the most important part, is we're really paying attention to the pattern and the repetitions and knowing what number, like are we on the third one, on the fourth one, before we move into that next moment, yeah? So we put all of that movement pattern together as well with our music. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try this with our music. So we're gonna start with the tapping first. We'll take a little breather in between, and then we're gonna find the movement to that same pattern. So here we go with our music. All right, here we go. We're gonna start with the tapping of the head, shoulders, and the ribs. It goes head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Again, head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. One more time. A head, shoulders, ribs, ribs. Now the shoulders, shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Last time, shoulders, ribs. Now we start with the ribs. So go, ribs, head, shoulders, 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 ribs, head, shoulders, 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 ribs, head, shoulders, shoulders, shoulder. Last time, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Good, take a breath in here. Good, exhaling, hinging at those hips, reaching towards those ankles. Let's find that breath, back up. And bring it down. Here we go, adding in the movement, starting with that head. We got a head, shoulder, ribs, ribs, ribs. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs, ribs. Remember, you're finding your own version as you want to go. Head, shoulders, ribs, ribs. Now the shoulder, shoulder, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Last time, shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Now we go, ribs, head, shoulder, 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 ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulders, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. One more time, ribs, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Big breath in here. If you want to reach those arms higher this time, maybe they find a bigger range of motion as we exhale, coming down towards those ankles, hinging at those hips, trying to keep that flat back if we can. Big breath in. Bring it on down. Good, let's bring our leg on in. Let's take a little stretch through those hips. Good, lowering it down and lift and down. Lifting up and down. One more time, we lift it up. Lower down, other side, lift the leg, lower down. Just finding that range of motion, that lower body. I know we've been sitting for a little while here, so we want to get that lower body starting to wake up a little bit more. One more time, breathe it on in and lower it down. Let's take that breath on up. Good, exhaling, reaching as far as we want to go today. Big breath in. Exhaling it down. One more time, breathe it on up, lowering it down. All right, one more time through, just with the movement. Here we go. We got a head, shoulder, rib, rib, rib. Head, shoulder, rib, rib, rib. Again, head, shoulders, rib, rib, rib. Head, shoulder, rib, rib. Now it goes shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulders, ribs, head, head, head. Shoulder, rib, head, head, head. Shoulder, ribs, head, head, head. Last pattern, rib, head, shoulder, 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 rib, head, shoulder, 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 rib, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Last one, rib, head, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. Breathe it in. Exhale out and finish here. All right, now let's work on our feet here. We're gonna work on that lower body, really articulating through the parts of our foot so we can wake up those ankles, preparing ourselves to stand up here in just a few more activities. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our toe heel. So we're gonna go to the ball of the foot and then drop that heel. We're really picking up that foot to press down into the ball, and then the heel goes. So it goes ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel. Okay, so we're gonna do 4 of those, right, left, left. Then we're gonna start with a cramp roll. Cramp roll is a little tap step. So we're gonna take that right foot, we're gonna go right foot on the ball, left foot on the ball, then we drop the right heel, and then we drop the left heel. Yeah, so it's a little different pattern. So it goes ball, ball, heel, heel. We repeat that 2 times, ball, ball, heel, heel, okay? So that's our pattern. It goes toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, ball, ball, heel, heel, ball, ball, heel, heel. We repeat that, starting with that right foot as we go, ball, ball, heel, heel, ball, ball, heel, heel. Then we're gonna take a little crawl walk out. So we're just walking through the heel and the toe. Again, listening to the knees for sure. So as we're finding that mobility in the ankle, decide that range of motion that you need, okay? So we're going toes and heels and toes and heels, and then we're gonna slide the foot back in. Now, of course, if we're on a surface that sliding doesn't feel right, take those toe crawls back in again. So doing what you need for your own self, okay? And then we repeat it to the other side, taking those heels and toes out, and then either sliding that foot, or we can take the toe heels back in. So we're just working on that mobility on that ankle. Again, super important to have mobility in our ankles because we have little receptors down there that help tell us in our brains like where we are in space. Proprioception is super important as we're working on balancing and all of that. So that's why we really want to spend some time waking up those ankles. All right, so we have those little crawl walks, and then we would repeat the exact same pattern starting with the left foot. So we'd have the toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, 2 cramp rolls, and a toe, heel, toe, heel. If you want to swing those arms, you sure can. Just be aware, especially if you've got arms on your chair like I do, not to hit those elbows. That hurts, I've done it. Toe, heel, and slide it back in, and we crawl it on out as we slide it back in. All right, so that's a bulk of our little work here for our feet. Then we're gonna work on a little mambo step in different directions. So we're gonna take our mambo step forward. So our mambo step is gonna step forward, center, together. And then we'll alternate that. So it goes forward, center, together. And every time that we're stepping, we're really trying to pick up those feet. Again, so we're starting again to wake up those hip muscles, super important, and finding more of that kind of rocking of the weight. As we're in our chairs too, if it feels comfortable, we can definitely hinge forward and back a little bit. Just be aware of, sometimes we get overexcited and we want to make sure that we're still safe, okay? But we have 4 of them to the front. So it goes mambo to the front, mambo to the front, and a mambo to the front. Now we're gonna go side to side. So we would go open, center, close, open, center, close, open, center, close, and a open, center, close. Then we would do the exact same thing traveling back. And I know in our chairs it might be a little bit different, but we're thinking about a back, forward together, back, center together, back, center together, and a back, center together. So we're working on forwards, sides, and backs for our little mambo step. And then we're just gonna repeat that phrasing again, just cutting it down though. So instead of going through everything twice, we may do it once. Instead of 4 mambos, we're gonna try it 2 times. So you can follow along with me. I'll make sure I give you the details that you need. And one other thing in this, we're gonna have some little pitter-patter runs on our tippy toes. So maybe we wanna take those tippy toes out. This is where we can definitely hang on to that chair if we need to. But just picking up those feet, maybe we wanna go side to side with it as well. Just kind of exploring the floor here with our little pitter-patters. And you can imagine maybe you got water and you're splashing our feet into the floor. All right, so here we go. Let's work on really waking up those feet with our music. All right, starting with that right foot, we're gonna have our toe heels. 5, 6, and we have toe heel, 2, 3. Here comes that cramp roll. Toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe. Again, we go toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel. Good, let's take that little crawl walk out. Toe, heel, slide it on in. Other side, toe, heels. Good, slide it on in. Now the left goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to go. Ball, ball, heel, heel, ball, ball, heel, heel. Again. 2, 3, and 4 to go. Ball, ball, heel, heel, ball, ball, heel, heel. Cramp it on out and slide. Let's crawl it out, crawl it on out. Slide it back in. Good, let's take some little pitter-patter runs here on those tippy toes. Good, all right, we're gonna take our mambo step with that right foot. Go forward, center, in. Forward, center, in, and forward. And up forward. Now let's go to the side. We're gonna go side, center, in, and side, center together, and 1, and into the side. Take it on back. We're gonna go back, forward, in, back, forward, in, again, back, forward, in, back, forward, in. Good, running it out on those tippy toes. Breathe it on out. Maybe it goes forward. Good, bring yourself on back. Maybe to the side. Again, you can decide. Maybe we lean it out a little bit. Let yourself explore it. All right, we're gonna go back to our toe heels. Here we go. Toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. Cramp it out 2 times. Now let's switch to the left foot leading. Left foot. 2, 3, and 4. And we got ball, ball, heel, heel, ball, ball. Let's go right into our mambos. Mambo in. And 2. And 3, and 4. Take it to the side. We go a side, center, in, and side, center, in, and side, center, in, side, center, in. Now we go back behind us. And 2, and 3. All right, last one here. Good, maybe we can run on our heels this time. So this is gonna be a little bit more challenging for those abdominals. Good. Awesome, and let's roll that ankle around. Around a few times, other way, circle around. Beautiful. Spell out dance, write the word dance. Awesome, fine, coming to the other side, rolling that ankle around a few times. And spelling dance. All right, it is time to do our chicken dance, friends. Are you ready? We're gonna stand ourselves on up. Shake it on out, clap it out. And we clap it on out, and we shake it on out, and we shake it out. Here we go, making those little birdies, flap those wings, and we shake those hips. All right, we're gonna get ourselves ready to stand on up. Here we go, so grounding those feet, you can press down in that chair if you need to, press it on up. Good, feeling that nice stretch here, taking those arms forward. We're gonna bring ourselves back. Again, you can always search for that chair if we need. Let's take that again. Down to stand on up, big breath in. Good, standing on up here. Let's bring our feet together and we're gonna come back into our little chicken dance. Here we go, a little silly moment here for ourselves. Shake it on out. And we make our little birdies, we flap our wings, we shake those hips. And we make our little birdies and we flap those wings and we shake those hips. Again we go, flap it on out, shake it on out, clap it out. Good, knowing where your chair is, stand up nice and tall. We're gonna hinge back in those hips, take that seat again. Awesome, press down on those feet. Let's lift ourselves up, doing some sits to stands here. Super great for the strength of our lower body. Very, very important that we can sit and squat. Awesome, let's bring ourselves back down. And we know it, we gotta go with those hands as we flap those wings and we shake those hips. And a 1 and a 2 and we'll flap it up and we shake it up. And a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and shake it up. You got it, we're breathing here. All right, time to stand ourselves back up. Ground those feet, standing up. Take that nice big breath here. Maybe we go a little bit higher. Good, pressing those arms down. Maybe we know where that chair is, taking that seat back down in our squats. And again, standing ourselves back up from our sits to stand, bringing yourself on down. All right, let's march it on in place. And we're gonna take a little walk behind our chair here. We got that chair in front of us. All right, keeping those feet moving. Awesome, let's take those hands and we got our little birdies and they flap their wings and we shake those hips. And a 1 and a 2 and we flap it up and we shake it up. Wonderful job, everybody. Now that we're standing on up, let's start to work through those feet. So we're gonna find a little breath through the arms to begin. Exhaling it down. Maybe we find that big stretch up towards the sky. All right, using our imagination, we're gonna start to row our gondola. So we're going side to side. So we're shifting that weight from one foot to the other. We can always have a hand on our chair as well as we're working on our balance here. Good, finding that sway, and a sway, and a sway, and a sway. Good, let's bring ourselves back together here, leaning into that knee, and stretch. And find a little bend in the knee, letting that knee go over those toes. One more time, a little bend into that knee, one leg at a time. As we find that little bend. Wonderful, bringing ourselves back up. Let's walk our feet back together here. And let's start to walk through the feet. So we're gonna lift up that heel and we switch to the ball of the foot. And we're marching in place, shifting that weight. So we're walking, just nice and easy. Wonderful. And maybe we can imagine that we can see beautiful Venice in front of us. Using that imagination as we're taking that little stroll through the beautiful city. One more time, lifting that heel as we lower both down, taking that big breath up here. And let's find that sway again. And we have 1 and 2. Maybe it gets a little bit faster. We can always keep it slower though. So finding that flow that feels good for you. As we find our gondola again, as we start to really press down into that water, feeling that pressure, that resistance. Good, beautiful. Let's take it one more time on each side. And we'll bring ourselves back to our center here. Let's take a little plie. So we're gonna bend both knees and stretch. So we're in that parallel position, bending those knees and a stretch. Finding that range of motion that feels right for us today, of course. And we'll take that one more time, finding that plie and stretch it on up. Good, let's walk our feet back together here. Let's see if we can rise up to our toes on both feet. Maybe we find a balance. Maybe an arm can float on out. Maybe it's really soft and airy. And then we'll switch those hands. If we can stay on those toes, try it. If we need to lower those heels, we can always do that as well. Wonderful, coming back down. Maybe we take a little break here. Let's find that plie, bending both knees together. Let's try that balance one more time. Rising up to our toes. Feel free to keep the hands here. Maybe one arm or maybe 2 hands. Find a little bit of that flow. Yes, and finish right here. All right, now that we're standing, we've got a little shift of that weight. We're gonna go through some choreography here, and we're gonna explore this idea of range or size of movement. There are all different activities that we can do with this, but just for today, we're gonna be doing this to our home on the range to explore our own range. So this might be a song that we're familiar with, so feel free to sing along as well. So our choreography, we're gonna start, and we can always have a hand on our chair no matter what, or we can have both hands here, or one, totally up to us. But we're gonna have a little sway. So we have our little sway side to side, and then we're gonna press out with those hands. So finding the range that just feels right for us today. We press out with those hands. Then we're gonna find our leg that circles around. And we can sweep that arm, we can always hang onto that chair. We're finding just a little stretch back in those hips. So if I turn to the side here, I'm just taking that leg back behind me. So you can feel a little stretch to the front of that pelvis and working on shifting that weight from one foot to the other as well. And again, we can add that arm, maybe it circles forward, maybe it circles back. You decide what you want to explore here. But we have 4 of those, yeah? So let's go back from the top. So we have our home on the range. This is where the deer and the antelope play. And again, find that size that works for us. Then we have where seldom is heard. So we're gonna lean to one side. towards that ear, and trying to really cup the ear if we can. So we're being really specific about the placement of that hand on the head. So where seldom is heard, and then we have our discouraging words. So you can make a little nasty face like, don't you dare say that. So you got our discouraging, and then we're gonna have word. So it's like you're actually taking that out into the space. We're making those faces a word. If you can even say the word word, you sure can. So that's our chorus, right? So let's go back again from the top. We have home, home on the range. Then we have where the deer and the antelope play. If you don't want to do 4, we could do 2, making that your own, okay? Where seldom is heard, our discouraging word, and then we have where the skies are not cloudy all day. So this is your little free form here, just to kind of let those arms flow back down. And then we'll repeat that again with our chorus. Then the second part, our verse here, we're gonna find our one arm making really big movement, and at the same time that other arm is gonna be making really small movement. So different things happening in the body at the same time. So we got big movement on one side and maybe really small on the other. Then we're gonna switch it. So we got big movement on one side and then maybe small little movement on the other. Might feel a little funky, that's good. We're exploring some new stuff here. So we have that little motion together. Then we're gonna find our big shape, as big as we can, and then we're gonna make ourselves as small as we can today. So maybe that's really finding flexion and making ourselves into a tiny little ball. Maybe it feels better to come straight back up. So always listening to our bodies, but we're gonna find that big shape, and then we're gonna make ourselves as small as we need to today, okay? So finding that range, again, what feels right for us in our bodies. So then we got that little phrase. So we got big arm, then we'll switch it, big arm, taking up a lot of space, making ourselves really small, taking up a lot of space and making ourselves really small. Then we're gonna go back to our chorus, but now we're gonna do it as small as possible. So we're gonna have really small little sways, maybe a little press out. How small can we move that arm and that leg, right? So we're exploring what it feels like in really small, close choreography here, or execution of the choreography. Then we have we're at buffalo roam, and then we have our where seldom is heard, a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Then the final time, we're gonna make it as big as we can. So listening to your body, how big do you really wanna explore our movement? Finding that range, and again, knowing that that chair is always there for us to be able to hold on to. So we got those circles back, and then we got our seldom is heard, so we have those big sways side to side. We got our, maybe use both hands here on the discouraging word, and then we got our big clouds in the sky again as we come back down. All right, and then we'll finish it there. So that's our home on the range little choreography here, and this is specifically looking at exploring range and size of movement. So when you're ready, let's do it to our music. All right, here we go. Take a little breath up, and we'll place those hands on our heart. And we have sway to the side and side. And we'll take that big stretch out to the side. And we got our stretches back. And 2, and 3, and 4. We got our heard, where seldom is heard. Our discouraging word. Good. And we can always sing along to our music as well. Bringing those arms back down. Let's do that again. Remember, you're exploring your range of the motion here. What feels good as we press it on out. And we find our circle. Maybe we start to warm up a little bit more here. We're starting to feel good. Stretching those legs back, and that arm circles around. And we lean side to side. And we have our big discouraging word and our sky. Beautiful work, everybody. All right, here we go. We're gonna have one arm big as the other arm is really small. So seeing how small and how big we can make our movement. Switch it on out big, but then we got our small little movement on the other side. So multiple things happening in the body at the same time. Beautiful. Stretch it really big. And making ourselves as small as we can. Taking that one more time. Big stretch, finding your range of motion, and in. Here we go. From the top, small this time. So really small, really confined. How does that feel in the body when we have to move really small? Small as we got today. Nice. And then we got our ears, little lean. And then we have our little discouraging word, and little word, and spine in the sky. All right, friends, last and final time, the biggest one you got. Here we go, and reach, reach. Again, always listening to our bodies, but how big can we get now? How large can we explore in our space? As long as we're listening to that body, that's all that matters. And side. And side, and maybe both arms, yes, and words, and we got our big sky, and coming down, and finishing nice and tall here. Take that breath in, and finish here, nice and tall. Beautiful work, everybody. And for the rest of this class, I'm going to be sharing a few videos of my beautiful, wonderful students that I get to work with here in Las Vegas. And these are more of our kind of group activities and more working on interacting with each other. So I have an example of some mirroring activities, which mirroring, when you work with a partner, one person is leader and the other person is follower, and you would explore. So if I was leader and I had someone in front of me, they would be mirroring me. So we're working on being able to follow each other and move with one another. So you'll see an example of this in the next video here. And we added in a little traveling locomotion pattern as well. You don't have to move with it. You could totally do this at your chairs. You could do this in your chairs as well. But you're gonna see my dancers here. We're walking, we got a little 3 walk, and then we got a clap, clap. So we're working 1, 2, 3, clap, clap. And we start to explore the rhythm while we are milling, meaning that we're kind of weaving in and out of each other. And then I say, find your partner. And then they all come together and they do their version of mirroring. So you get a little sample of that here in that video right now. This next video, this is an example of continuing to work on that locomotion and articulating through our feet. And then we were exploring painting in this one. So we were imagining that we could paint our partners. So you'll see some really silly moments here, some laughter with the dancers here as we were exploring this idea of traveling and then finding a partner, and then this idea of painting around our friend. So have fun watching this.
Oh, and paint it out. Switch painters! Walk it out and 1, 2, 3.
And the final activity that you're gonna see here is the dancers working with scarves. And we had a lot of different prompts. One of these prompts though was looking at size. So big and small, or expanding, contracting, shrinking, growing. So using those vocabulary words to be able to explore with a scarf. And we had some partners together as they created some choreography with their scarves. So you'll see a few examples of that as well. so much for joining me today for NeuroGroove. This is one of my favorite classes to teach and share, combining my passion and my love for dance education alongside brain health and that idea of creativity and interacting with one another. It truly is holistic health in this one class. I'm extremely passionate about it. So if you or anyone in your community or you know somebody that would love to have this class provided at your facility, please reach out. My email is below. I would love to chat with everybody. Let me know what you think. And until next time, just remember with Bami Art Movement Society, curiosity, movement, and connection never retire. Have a great day, everybody.